Peacefully and go home, not to hang around the polling stations.
Hello viewer, welcome to Dokiza TV podcast. Today I want us to take a moment and analyze developments in Uganda, where Museveni currently faces the stiffest electoral competition ever. Our theme is The Gathering Storm, Uganda's 2026 election and the spectre of a new era. Uganda's political landscape has been frozen for nearly 4 decades under President Yoweri Museveni. Now it is experiencing seismic tremors as the nation approaches the January 2026 general election. What was once a predictable political theater is now charged with an unprecedented energy, centered on the resurgent candidacy of opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobi Wine. His second presidential bid is not merely another challenge, it is morphing into a national movement that signals the most profound existential threat to Museveni's rule since he captured power in 1986. Take a look.
Police atebagana abantu okusala.
The mammoth, voluntary, and jubilant crowds flooding Bobi Wine's rallies across the country are not just attendees, they are a vivid demographic testament to a widely felt hunger for change. Over 60% of Uganda's population was born after Museveni's ascent. This means a vast majority of citizens, including those now turning 40, have never known another president. This, a 1986 generation, has wind on stories of past liberation, and they are living the realities of chronic unemployment, governance fatigue, and diminished freedoms. That reality is the engine of this burgeoning revolution. The current campaigns represent a clash of epochs. On one side is the narrative of experience, stability, and liberation legacy meticulously maintained by the National Resistance Movement (NRM) machinery. On the other is a potent, youth-driven cry for systemic overhaul, framed in the language of generational transition and economic justice. Bobi Wine, himself a product of this post-1986 generation, embodies this rupture. His message resonates because it articulates the frustrations of a populace for whom Museveni is not a liberator but a perennial fact of life, a figure more associated with the past than the future. The regime's traditional tools of patronage, coercion, and electoral manipulation are being tested as never before by the sheer scale of organic support for the opposition. This shows that societal change may be outpacing the state's capacity to control it. Museveni and his military and police machinery has used every opportunity to frustrate Bobi Wine in the campaigns. However, Ugandans are braving the police and military barricades and violence to attend opposition rallies in millions. If Museveni was locking Besigye in prison deeming him bigger threat than Bobi Wine, he was possibly mistaken. Take a look.
When the former general came to power after a civil war in 1986, Bobi Wine was just 4 years old.
I believe that General Museveni largely views Uganda as his personal property, as his family property, and he views us as slaves.
It is our time to change our future.
Bobi Wine accuses security forces of using violence to stop him from campaigning. At the stop in northern Uganda, supporters formed a protective shield around the candidate as military officers whipped them. One of his closest aides was wounded.
Look at what the police and the military are doing to us for no crime whatsoever.
The Electoral Commission condemned the incident that is now under investigation.
There are many things to be anxious of. A potential transfer of power in Uganda would present a historically ironic and deeply symbolic scenario. The chief of the defense forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, is the son of the incumbent president. His dramatic rise through the ranks and his controversial political utterances have long fueled speculation about a dynastic project. The ultimate test of institutional and personal allegiance would come if Museveni were to lose. General Kainerugaba would be constitutionally tasked with overseeing a peaceful handover of power from his father to his father's successor. This surreal dynamic, a son facilitating the exit of his patriarch at the behest of the ballot, would be a profound moment of truth for Uganda. It would test whether the professional ethos of the military can supersede familial and political bonds, offering a chance to cement the principle of civilian authority and democratic transition. The central, agonizing question for Uganda is whether such a transition would be peaceful. The nation and the world can only hope that if defeated, President Museveni, a man who has often spoken of his historical role, would choose to cement a legacy of peaceful concession rather than clinging to power. A refusal to accept a legitimate outcome would almost certainly ignite massive public protest. Given the revolutionary youth uprisings rocking neighboring East African nations, from Kenya's historic shifts, Tanzania's rupture of the CCM stranglehold, to Sudan's resistance, the region is a tinderbox of generational revolt. Uganda's frustrated, connected, and populous youth could unleash a wave of civil disobedience that would plunge the country into chaos, with devastating regional consequences. The state's response to such protests, and the military's role within it, would determine whether Uganda experiences a rebirth or a breakdown. That said, my view is that the Uganda's 2026 elections are more than a political contest, they are a referendum on Uganda's destiny. The campaigns reveal a nation at a crossroads, straining under the weight of a 40-year epoch. The demographic tide, the scale of opposition mobilization, and the regional context all point towards an inevitable, powerful demand for change. Whether this demand translates into a smooth democratic transition, or a violent confrontation, it all hinges on the choices of a few key actors, a president facing his twilight, a general son balancing dual loyalties, and a youth population out of patience. Uganda stands on the precipice of a new era. The hope is that it steps into it through the dignity of the ballot, not the tragedy of the bullet, setting a precedent that would reverberate across the African continent. With that, thank you for watching, and see you in our next Dokiza TV podcast. Remember to subscribe, to like, and to share your comments.